Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on the 1 day time frame. And let's first of all take a look at some big support and resistance levels. Currently, we are facing this big level of resistance sitting from 95K all the way up to 96.2K. In the case that we break above this 96.2K level, the next area of resistance is sitting from 98.5K all the way up to 100,000 in the Bitcoin price. However, for now, we are still facing this level of resistance, so therefore a rejection is still possible here. And in the case that we continue to see a move to the downside here, I will show some better examples of this on the lower time frames later on in this video. But either way, if we now get a move to the downside on the higher time frame, we have some support around this 92 all the way down to 90,000 US dollar level. So those are the critical levels of support and resistance to be paying attention to right now. Moving on to the 4-hour time frame, for now you can see that we are still in an ascending channel pattern. So we are basically slowly just trending up over time, slowly heading into this big level of resistance here that I mentioned earlier on. And in terms of the top line resistance of this ascending channel, currently that is sitting at around 96.3K. However, right now, notice how we are at the bottom of this ascending channel pattern, the support of which is sitting at 93.7K. And if we now break below this, likely we would fall into this big level of support below, again from 92 all the way down to 90,000 US dollars. And then at that point, it would start to look a little bit more bearish on this higher time frame, because again, this would be looking like a rejection from this critical level of resistance. So to avoid any confusion, am I now bearish on Bitcoin? No, I am not bearish on Bitcoin. On the higher time frames, it is actually very, very simple for me. We are basically just in this uptrend, and so long as we're not breaking down below this ascending trend line, I'm not even considering like a bigger move to the downside. And again, as I keep saying over and over again, so long as we're holding above 87.5K, I think we are literally just going to continue printing higher highs and higher lows for Bitcoin. Only if we break down below 87.5K, then I will start entertaining more bearish scenarios on the higher time frames as well. But this ascending trend line here could give us a bit of an early warning signal in the case that we really break down below the uptrend. Besides that, we also still have a bearish divergence in the charts, which is when you have higher highs in the Bitcoin price and lower highs in the RSI momentum indicator. Typically, this points towards us getting a break from this bullish price action that we saw here recently, either in the form of some choppy sideways price action or potentially some bearish momentum. And of course, exactly as expected, we saw some choppy sideways price action over the weekend here, and a little bit of bearish momentum. And besides that, I'm still getting comments from people saying that I was wrong to say that the Bitcoin price was slowing down. And hopefully now that we are at the end of the weekend, we can leave this discussion alone. In my personal opinion, we were pumping massively here over the last week. And just looking at these last 2 daily candles, you cannot tell me that the Bitcoin price did not slow down, okay? Maybe we just have a different definition, but if we are pumping massively, and then we stop pumping to trade sideways over the weekend, then to me, that is just technically the Bitcoin price slowing down. Let me know in the comments, guys. What do you think? Am I wrong for calling this a slowdown? And if yes, what should I be calling this? Because surely something like this will happen again in the future. When we saw a big pump to the upside, we get a confirmed bearish divergence, and you will see me give the same outlook. But what should I be calling this if not a slowdown in the bullish momentum? Now, if I zoom into this 2-hour time frame where we also had a bearish divergence in the charts, notice how this is now actually invalidated. So this bearish divergence here is fully played out. So it is simply not relevant anymore on this 2-hour time frame analysis. And notice how on the 4-hour time frame, we are also pretty close to actually invalidating this bearish divergence as well. So if the market opens again and you see a bit of a pump to the upside, look for a potential invalidation of this bearish divergence, because that would open the door to more bullish price action once again, especially now that the RSI has reset massively from this massive overbought territory that we were in previously. Now, lastly, taking a look at the 1-hour time frame where it is looking a little bit cluttered, but let me just zoom zoom in a little bit here, notice how we still are trading on this ascending trend line right here. So we broke down below this first angle, we immediately shot down to this second angle here, and now after some time has passed, we have actually reached this third angle as well. So what you need to look out for right now is, first of all, a break above this area of resistance, which is currently sitting at around 94.4K. In the short term, you could also look at some kind of descending trend line like this. But either way, if we start breaking down below this ascending trend line right here, be open to the possibility of a move all the way down to this ascending trend line right here, which currently is sitting at around 90,000 US dollars in the Bitcoin price. And if we take a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, notice how there is also big liquidity to the downside. For example, sitting at 93.2K as well as 92.9K. But of course, we did have a sideways weekend, and usually this means that we are going to see liquidity piling up to the downside as well as to the upside. So for now, there is also big liquidity to the upside at 96.4K. Both these levels to the upside and to the downside could be short-term price targets, depending on what happens here around this ascending trend line. If I take a look at the 2-week time frame, notice how there is also a bunch of liquidity that has piled up here recently over the last couple days or so. Again, 93K all the way down to 91,000 roughly speaking, and there is also that liquidity to the upside that I showed you on the 3-day time frame. But again, if I zoom out to this 1-year time frame, and I keep showing this every single day, guys, there is still massive liquidity, close to $30 billion sitting at 96.3K. And we have another massive pocket of liquidity sitting at 100K. So as far as I'm concerned, for now, it looks like we are simply targeting this higher liquidity here to the upside. And so long as we do not break down below this ascending trend line, it is inevitable that eventually we are going to take out that massive liquidity at 100K in the Bitcoin price. So to be extra clear, yes, I am bullish on Bitcoin on the 1-day time frame here, although it is a little bit less clear in the immediate short term. Personally, I think it makes the most sense to be trading the lower time frames here, because this is much more controllable than trying to get some kind of big trade on the higher time frames. But that is, of course, not financial advice. I'm simply telling you what I'm seeing in the charts, and you can do with that information what you like. Either way, this has been today's market update. If you're not inside the Discord server yet, I highly recommend you come check it out, especially as we're heading into this new week of trading here. So get ready for that, guys. Make sure you are in the server and ready to start trading this week. But regardless, if you do end up joining or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.